test. 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
I wonder
12.
if it's these headphones.
Oh.
Turn me up on my headphones.
Turn my headphones up.
Turn me up on my headphones.
Turn my headphones up. All the way up. That's not healthy.
I can't hear my drums in my headphones.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Your Opinion Stinks opens the conversation on a hot button business topic.
And flips it on its head.
Hosted by a wellness coach
And a business coach.
we break down conventional business
While building entrepreneurs up for success.
Who
Who will you agree with?
Welcome to Your Opinion Stinks. I'm Taniza.
And I'm Tim. Thank you as always for watching and listening. YouTubes, hit the subscribe button and the alert button so the notification fairy will let you know when a new episode comes up. iTunes, anywhere you listen to podcasts, hit the subscribe button and download. So we always have it on your device. You don't have to go looking for it. It'll come right to you. And of course, join our community where we're doing a lot of cool stuff in there at upliftpreneur.com/group. No, that's the wrong URL. Youropinionstinks.com/uplift.
There you go.
Either way, they both will get you there.
Both of them, neither's wrong.
No, it's just different branding. Youropinionstinks.com/uplift.
Yes.
There you go. That was rough.
That's okay. I'll edit it. It's fine. I love it.
Can we carry on?
Yes. Okay, moving on. This week's episode is part 2 of our leadership discussion. Last week,
Yep.
we started talking about, what's his name? Steve Jobs and Apple.
Yes.
And does Mr. Apple Man need to be loved by all and create a healthy workplace to create a successful company and be considered a good leader? And we had a preliminary discussion about what a good leader is. And decided to come up, it was Tim's idea for us to come up with our individual definitions of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim, you start, Tim. What is your, because if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you should. It was fun, and it'll give you the conflict from which this debate springs. And if you were with us, you will recall that I took great issue with Tim's characterization of leadership as having too much to do with vision. And not enough to do with other things.
So here's the dealio.
Oh,
So I shared with you the video that I was referencing from the last show.
Yes, you did. We're going to talk about it after this.
And I don't know.
Or should we talk about it first?
I think we should talk about it first and set it up, and then I can go deeper into it.
Okay. So last week he said that his definition, his working definition at the moment of good leadership was based off of a video that he saw.
Not solely based, but it gave a very good. It was said in a way that was elegant, and I felt that I kind of leaned into it.
Right. And it was influenced by this video that separated. This won't mess it up, will it?
No, you'll be fine.
That separated the CEO's vision from the COO's operations, being in charge of the operational side, making sure the ship is running, whereas the CEO is the visionary. Now, I watched this video. Timothy sent it to me. Here's my issue. This video you sent me was more about, that wasn't the point of the video.
No, it wasn't.
the point of the video, it was actually an excellent video. It's
Yep.
Jay Morrison.
Yep. And if you don't know who Jay Morrison is, he is mostly in the real estate space for what he does. He does do some wealth creation things, but he's mostly in real estate investing.
And Jay Morrison, this is an excerpt from some sort of street talk.
Yeah, I think he
streets.
calls it corner classes.
Oh, corner classes. Oh, nice. Yeah. And this was Jay Morrison's take on bridging the wealth gap and being the CEO of your own name. So he was talking to a group of African American people in the city.
In Crenshaw, this was soon. Yeah. This was soon after Nipsey Hussle was assassinated.
And talking about wealth creation and what we're leaving to generations after us, and so I feel like it was more about that and being the CEO of your own name, not saying you shouldn't have a number of the other qualities that I have in my definition.
And you're absolutely right. The video was mostly a rah-rah event after the events of Nipsey, where he was trying to get the community to rally against the idea of community wealth.
It's a mindset talk.
It's very much so.
Everyone should watch it, no matter what race you are. It's excellent.
Yeah, basically he was just breaking down how, as a community, everyone can rise if everyone's working together for a common goal of pretty much buying back the block. That's the big thing that's been happening lately, is people buying back their blocks. And if you don't know what that vernacular means, it's pretty much businesses and housing. A certain community would buy those. Well, it's more than that. It's more so buying the establishments that you frequent within your own community, so your community grows as a full functioning organism, not just like parts that are just all off of themselves. But in that, Morrison breaks down a very fundamental idea for the community, talking about your name being an organization and you taking the position of a business owner in your own personal name, because we all are business entities as soon as we're born. Just people don't see it that way, because we all have a social and we pay taxes. Sure. We are a business. Right. And so he leans into that, and we're
not just a trackable individual. You'd say because of that we are in a business.
Well, the whole thing of identifying yourself as a solopreneur, not solopreneur, but
doing a DBA.
Like when you're doing a DBA or you're doing pretty much like a DBA.
You have to declare that.
Yeah, but you're still using your social for all of your purposes, and hence you are technically fit within the world of being a business. You're just a business of an individual.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Right. You guys get me. It's all good.
All right.
So he breaks down this construct of what a CEO is and what a COO is. And even though it's very, very simplistic and basic in the delivery, the impact of it all is actually what I lean into, because it says it extremely elegantly. And I have examples that I actually shared with you and we'll share in the show notes.
Okay.
Well, we won't?
No, yeah. We're sharing it. That was my objection, was to that proving that specific point, and I don't think it did.
No, it's not a matter of proof; it's support.
Okay.
So I found a really great article on entrepreneur.com, which helps to kind of further what I'm talking about as far as being a visionary. Because when we look at someone like a Bill Gates, someone as a Warren Buffett, a Steve Jobs, which is where this stemmed from, they were visionaries in the sense that they could see or envision where their entities can go, where their businesses can go. And that was the driving force behind how the business was built, how the business is run, any of the movements that they do. And in the entrepreneur article, it profiles some other entrepreneurs that are high profile that lean into that world of being a visionary. And I'm going to give a couple of examples that stuck out for me. The biggest one is Elon Musk by far.
Okay.
And the thing about Elon Musk being a visionary, regardless of, him and his personal life, he saw a world where we could have automation in our daily life. He saw a world autonomy, thank you. In our daily life, he saw a world where we are close to, if not completely independent of fossil fuel, moving us into the next century of renewable energies. That's vision. Then everything else falls under that as far as how do we make that a reality. Mm-hmm. And then the other example that jumped out from me was who was it? Was it Phil? I think it was Phil. Yeah, it was Phil Krim and
Casper.
Yep.
Mattresses.
And the whole thing of that is we've for the beginning and end of time we've slept on something to try to have comfort. And it's one of those things where it's like a business where you like sell me this pen type of business. Mm-hmm. It's something everyone has. But if you're able to have vision as to where you can take this old thing and flip it into a new idea, like in the article where it says it's reimagining, mm-hmm. that's vision. Then everything else is just how do we make that vision a reality? Mm-hmm. Great businesses start with someone who can see what most people don't and then can build up the resources to make it happen. Mm-hmm. CEO, COO. Mm-hmm. My opinion is great.
So then what's the sentence or more structured definition of a good leader from that?
A good leader is a leader that has vision and can articulate their vision to people for them to be inspired to carry out the vision.
Okay.
My opinion is booming.
Well, I don't disagree. I still think that definition is inadequate. If you're just listening, he's drinking at me, sassing me with his swallowing.
Ah, that is refreshing.
And smacking.
It tastes like good opinion.
Tastes like good opinion. All right.
All right. Let's see how you're trying to disprove me.
So, as you know, I feel like there are many more qualities than that are required to make a good leader. And so I was reading up on some leadership stuff. If you go to youropinionstinks.com and go to the show notes for season 2, episode 3. Look at the show notes. You'll find a link to a really interesting Wikipedia entry on leadership because, we've been talking about this for centuries, what leadership is and isn't. And there are different schools of thought on leadership.
I'm sorry. I forgot to take my opinion to the bank.
Oh, did you? Oh.
So, I'm sorry. I got to cash in, I got to make sure that.
Why are you hogging the soundboard? Which one is the coin? Which one's the coin? Is it that one? Well, I can't hear it.
Well, that's obvious.
Okay.
Both of us can't.
See, how can I give myself coins? Okay. Well, okay. Anyway, so we as humanity have been talking about leadership for a very, very long time. Stop. And there are different schools of thought on leadership. And so I was like, okay, when I'm thinking about leadership, so I just started listing off all these things that I think all the best leaders had, all these qualities in communication, in their personality, and who they were and how they moved and thought and acted in the world. And so then I tried to distill it down and sort of like, okay, well, I can throw that out because that can be purchased, and I can throw that out because that can be delegated. So what are the qualities that a good leader just has to have? Just distilled down, boiled down. And here's my definition. again, as we talked about, stop aggressively smacking at me. As we talked about last week, these are both our working definitions. They may evolve over time. We may blend them. I doubt that's going to happen. But ding. But here's my definition. You ready? A good leader inspires a team of people to work in unison on a task, project, or strategy. This person steers an organization to success through good communication, a muted ego, a view of the best path forward, effective sustained action, assertiveness, and a commitment to personal growth.
So I want it to be noted that no monocle, no opera glasses,
Because this is not...
and no hat.
Because...
So that proves
No.
that this opinion is...
It proves that you are making an assumption that I did not consider those things. I did consider those things. I thought about doing it for both things. Like you wear the monocle and everything while you read yours and I wear the and we have the slides. But I feel like they aren't ready for that. When I put it on a slide and wear that monocle, I'm standing by that definition. Is that a baby?
You all know why.
Okay, no, they don't. So that was intentional.
So this is
what do you think about my
definition? This is what I'm going to
definition?
say. This is going to say that crap. So the whole thing of all of that working definition is that it is all a subset under
You say vision.
being a visionary.
But, okay.
The whole thing of being a visionary is that you have those things. You can also not have those things and drive a business completely in the toilet.
Exactly.
But you gotta have vision first.
But
you have to have something in your mind's eye that says I can do this thing, or this thing needs to be done, or I'll throw this out at you. Oh my goodness. So little babies can go and march in Washington, D.C. and protest gun violence. Mm-hmm. Those babies don't have no resources.
They have resources.
They got no resources. None.
They do have resources.
People believed in their vision of them speaking up and empowered those kids by providing the permits, giving them the space. They probably fed them. They probably gave them grapes or something. I don't know.
They gave them grapes. And
Apples.
those babies had good communication because they practiced how to convey their message to the masses. They rallied their resources and had a strategic path to success. They had the things in my definition to execute that vision. Because as you have said,
that vision.
Because as you have said both last week,
execute that vision,
and this week, it's not enough. Just having a vision can lead you to driving a company in the ground, which is what we're going to debate later.
But the whole thing is talking about leaders.
No.
And what makes them.
But it's not enough.
You can be a bad leader.
Yes, you can be a bad leader. This is a definition of a good leader.
In being good or bad, do you need to know where you want to go? Do you need to know where you want to go?
Yes. And you see how all of these things in my definition work together because you need all these things. Yes, you need that, although I replaced vision with a view of the best path forward, because another thing you acknowledged last week was that vision can be purchased. So therefore you've said the CEO does not have to have their own vision, and their vision is not enough because they can still run their company into the ground. So how is that the whole definition?
The whole thing of being a good leader, a great leader, even a bummy leader, is you gotta have youthful, childish imagination. If you can't
That's not
imagine,
vision.
if you can't imagine, you can't forecast. You got to have vision. If you want to win the Infinity Wars, you must have vision.
All right. Let's continue this discussion through talking about our next CEO. So I wanted to talk, last week we talked about Steve Jobs.
Yep.
So Steve Jobs' poster hangs in the office of Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel.
Yep.
Evan Spiegel is a very controversial figure.
At this point in time,
We also link to a couple articles on him. Snapchat, and this also touches upon, what is the definition of success? And the definition of success is subjective.
very much so.
When I speak of success, I don't you speak for yourself, but when I speak of it in this episode, I'm leaning into financial success.
That's
and
a part of it.
Notoriety for your strategy and inventiveness. Uh-oh, he's positioning his body to go on the attack. So, so that's how I'm talking about success this time.
Go and please go ahead
So,
and
I just thought this would be an interesting figure for us to test our definitions,
okay.
because here you have a company that seems to be very successful
Mm-hmm.
in the loose terms I described,
Mm-hmm.
but also has a very controversial co-founder and CEO who, on the one hand, you have this co-founder and CEO who's described as the Picasso of product development, marketing, etc.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, he's seen as this controversial figure because of the scandals with his emails and being leaked, and he seems like a terrible person. I don't like him anymore. Maybe I shouldn't use Snapchat. And all of his 10 of his 10 of his executives, C-level executives leaving over the course of about 18 months, all of this turnover. People who work for the company don't even know a new feature in Snapchat is coming out until they read about it. He's really private. He doesn't want to hear you say, like, there's this thing they're doing over at Apple. Like, nope, I don't want to hear it. We're about making our new way, our new path.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the culture in the company has been described as some by rather toxic. So is Snapchat succeeding because of him or in spite of him? Or can we even say it's that simple and know whether it's one or the other?
The whole thing of Snapchat even being a company, which is really difficult to say, considering that I don't even like the app. I'm just being honest.
It's growing though.
It's one of those
every year over year.
Yeah, it's just one of those apps where my age is showing.
Right.
And
it's not for us.
Yeah, I kind of need to like really understand like why it's popular. Like it took me a while for me to figure Twitter as being popular, but I understood it. But this for me is on par because you have to consider the generation, and for I want to make sure for Evan, I mean it's proven in time that there are some people who lead businesses that are a bit, of a hermit that might have a characteristic of being a loner, being a standoffish and things like that. I mean, Bill Gates initially when he first started was extremely awkward. And I think I talked about this last week, how he got Ballmer to come in, and Ballmer became the person that drove the vision of the business.
Right. He delegated being the face.
Right. The whole thing of you know, finding where you fit in an organization is very key, and it does take a certain person to be able to understand it and adapt as need be. Like this whole thing with losing tons of C-level and VP level people over a very short amount of time. Who are we to say that that's abnormal? One, this is a software company. This isn't a traditional brick and mortar or traditional internet business. It's an app business. Two, we don't know what the dynamics were of the relationship. Sure, you can look at the top and say, okay, you know, if all of this stuff is happening, you know, Evan must be off his rocker. He might very well be, but we don't know all of the inner workings.
And to that point, even this article talks about how, all right, let's look at it in the wider context. Because, yes, there's a lot of turnover, and that's objectively alarming. But at the same time, I think the example was Twitter. 2 or so years ago, it got the new person, and almost all the executives left.
Right.
And the company took a big hit, and now it's 2 years later thriving and up 91%. So the turnover in and of itself may not be an indication of a problem, but at the same time, that was a little different because it's this new person coming in. Oh, I don't like that person, I'm out. That
rather than it being a cultural thing.
Rather than a cultural thing, people keep coming in and leaving quickly.
Here's my parallel example, and it's the WWE.
Okay.
For a very long time, the business was ran completely by Vince McMahon Jr., a.k.a. Vince McMahon. Vince had tons of advisors who were in that business that helped him to shape what was a small organization into what it is today. But there was one point where he needed to step away because the vision of the business was important. He saw a vision for expansion, which unfortunately didn't really work out too well with the XFL. And right now he's actually trying to revive it for 2020.
But look at that. Vision wasn't quite enough, was it?
I will get into that.
Maybe the strategy was a little lacking.
Since I brought that up, I will get deeper into it for you. But as a person who was successful in his wrestling business, what did he do? He said, I need to put somebody in place that understands this business extremely well and can do the things of running the vision for this business, the WWE. Who did he put in place? His wife. Who is what? She is the secretary for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
No, that's not the right thing.
Oh, well, it's something with business. I can't remember. We saw her last year at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So yeah, I misspoke on that. Now that I think about it in my head. Either way, she's in a political
in Trump's cabinet
because she had business acumen that he felt could help. That he felt that could help America.
I mean, using that as support for your argument, he doesn't have the best vetting process. So evidenced by the fact that he's fired Miss
McMahon has done a great job in that.
Well, maybe
the business not. In that the business is thriving. They've grown, expanded their brands. They have reinserted themselves back in the football conversation. Because one person had vision to say, we need to make a shift. This is the way we're going to do the shift so we can keep this thing going. I'll go over here and play in the sandbox. And if it works out, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine. I got the money coming in. And then came back in the business and said, I see vision. I need to have my son-in-law ushering the next generation into the WWE.
Okay.
And to encapsulate all of it, he had vision. And he had people in place that understood and supported it, moved the business forward to the next level, and it's been thriving ever since. Here is my thing with Snapchat. This dude has a vision. He might not share it with everyone. He might not trust that this is something that can be put in the hands of others other than him. The whole thing is, though, he is making the business happen. Even if
You don't
someone,
know what he's doing, which is the
if
problem
it's
of
saying,
all
if it's
this
saying,
stuff.
if
We
it's
don't know
saying
what's
that,
happening.
if it's saying that people who are working on the project are learning about things through media or whatever other sources, like, and all that type of stuff, the business is still running. It might not be running with the person who's on the bottom of the pole, on the totem pole, but it's running and it's growing. And you already said that it's up whatever percentage
It is growing. But I think part of what makes this an interesting discussion is this story is unfinished. He's young.
Absolutely.
The company is relatively young.
Yeah, this isn't.
We don't know how this story is going to end.
This isn't Facebook where it's big enough.
Right. What
for
kind
it to
of
have
movie
enough.
are they going to make 30 years from now? Is it going to be...
It's gonna be Jobs.
Oh, wow, it's Steve Jobs.
It's gonna be Jobs.
Or will it be, what's her name, who had the huge company, and then, oh, surprise, everything she's doing was a lie. Something Holmes.
Yeah.
Whatever her name was.
Yeah, it was your cousin, right?
No. Shut up.
I don't know. Y'all kind of favorite each other a little bit. But
But
even
we don't know which one it's gonna
I want to
be.
even use that because this was like it was a completely falsified business, complete sham.
Well, even there's a kernel of that's debatable on that. She was maybe limping along until the breakthrough happened.
At the end of the day, the product that she said was there did
was
not exist.
there, did not exist. Yes.
So that was the
And
business.
they were lying to clients
Yes.
and partners. Yes.
and people with finances and all that.
Yes. Financiers. Yes.
All of that was a lie. The whole thing was, and even to the detriment of the
She had
scientists,
vision.
I was getting there. Into the detriment of the scientists, the detriment of the sales team, the executives, the board, everybody. Her vision moved people to create something, even though at the end of the day it really didn't exist.
Exactly.
She was a bad leader.
She had vision. She had vision out the wazoo, and it failed miserably and was a total embarrassment.
She didn't have
to
integrity.
almost everyone involved.
She didn't have integrity.
Okay, so then you need to revise your definition for it to be about
No, you can have
vision
somebody
and
that you can have
integrity.
somebody that has complete scruples missing, just gone.
Well, we did, and it wasn't enough. She had the vision.
But there's other people. You're talking about what it takes for a good leader. She was not a good leader.
No, I would agree with that. She wasn't.
So what are we talking about here?
I'm talking about how your definition is inadequate.
This guy, Evan.
Like, you know this dude.
Evan and me be chilling, man. We be on Snapchatting.
The app you said you don't like.
Snapping and chatting.
Don't
I
even
got
know
a
what it's
profile.
for.
I got it on my phone. I just got a friend request on there from a classmate because that's the thing to do. Snapping and chatting. Snapping and chatting. All right. So
All right, let's wrap this up. What's your final point?
The whole thing with using this as an example, which is a really good example of someone that is very questionable at being a good leader, doesn't take away from the fact that the business is doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is growing and scaling. Your question of is the business successful whether because of him or in spite of him doesn't matter.
Doesn't it?
Here's why. He had a vision for there to be an app called Snapchat. That was the starting point. That was the kernel. He visioned creating some type of a social app that was different than Twitter, different than Messenger, different than anything else that was already existing. And he found a way to niche it. And it just so happens that certain people, a.k.a. DJ Khaled, made it popular. He had the kernel that grew into the tree called Snapchat. Visionary. You can't win Infinity War without visionary. Without vision.
You cannot.
My opinion is excellent.
But you needed, all those other stones too. So vision wasn't enough in that either. Okay, so we're going to wrap it there.
And this is how I'm going to disprove that.
Oh, how are you going to disprove that?
I am Iron Man.
Okay, well, yeah, needed him too.
Doctor Strange had a vision.
Okay, all right, moving on. So I guess we're just coming up on agreeing to disagree on the definition, and both of our definitions must stand for the time being. Okay, ding. All right.
But mine was money, yo.
No, where's the coin? Is that the coin? I'll give myself a few coins. I'm good. These coins, take these to the bank.
Vision.
All right. I guess we'll end it there. But we will probably continue this discussion on a later episode.
Get ready for part 3 coming out sometime in the future with another CEO being profiled. Yeah. I'm just telling you.
Profiles in leadership. Yas Pod.
Vision.
Vision.
That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say.
Oh, all right. Take us out, Timothy.
Thank you for having vision and seeing us on the YouTubes. Pow. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm going to be honest. This is like take 2. So yes, if you're out there watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the alert button so that way you get alerts when the new episodes go up. If you're on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe and make sure you hit the download button, the auto download button, so you have it directly to your device no matter where you're listening to. And of course, don't forget to join our community, which is fun for you and fun for us. It's great stuff and all that at youropinionstinks.com/uplift. I am Tim.
I'm Taniza, and remember, opinions are not facts. Do your research and have fun in the fight. Bye-bye.
Vision.